Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast. Today, as always, we are powered by Game 7 Baseball. Game7baseball.com. Well, got to say that. .com.
Got to hit it.
Or is it? No, the emphasis should be on Game 7. Game 7 Baseball like that. .com. There we go. Get in your tournament. Register. Got some great stuff. Shows coming up with Dave and Dave. We got some good stuff coming out here not too much longer. We're going to be following Dave and those guys around to some of their events through the off season. We got our winter workout tour coming up. It's always great. I enjoy the off season because there's a lot going on.
There's a ton going on. I've actually been lucky to talk to Dave. I'm not sure which one. I think it's one with a G, maybe. I'm not sure. There's two Daves, but
it's just Dave.
I'll be completely honest. I sent him an email asking him about tournaments and things like that, and he said, "Why don't you give me a call so I can make sure I explain this correctly?" Because you know how things can get interpreted over text message. Mm-hmm. So I got a chance to talk to him for quite a long time on the phone, and what they're trying to do is exciting over there for this area and the levels of play. So
I really and
check
that's
them
the
out
thing
for sure.
Because there's a lot of good solid AA baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's easy to focus on that AAA major, those high end talents, and that's great. I love that stuff, but I think we need to give some due because I think you'll see some of these kids that are coming out of that AA level as they grow, as they get better. You know, you never know who you might see pop up out of that, right?
That's true. And there's a lot more AA teams and players in the area in general. And I just think what they're doing, they're trying to do a really good job of getting nice parks, trying to do their best to keep tournaments running. And, as a coach, it always was frustrating when rain would come, and they would take forever to delay. Getting to have conversations with Dave, at the ball field. I've seen him a few times down there by CNH. Was it Great America or something now? Or
whatever it is, yeah.
I know it's changed a couple of times, but just talking to them, getting to understand that side of the business versus, being a frustrated coach, like just cancel or, whatever, make a decision.
Right.
And it's so much more than everybody complains it's about money. No, it's about they're trying to do this for the kids, get the kids to playing time, the right format, to try to make up for the rain. So again, they're doing a good job of finding good fields. They're playing regionally. They're not just in the St. Louis, St. Charles County areas. We got them down there. We're going down to Branson, I guess.
Ballparks of America.
Maybe it's the
Branson.
Ozarks.
Or is it, Branson Ballparks of America?
When we're going to. It's April 1st. Spring fling, spring ring springs.
Swing for the rings?
Something.
Yeah.
Something like that. I should probably pay more attention. I'm just trying to get 14 kids ready to go and play some 14U baseball.
Hey, but that's good because they got, as we're talking about, we got coming up, we're talking about Kentucky and Tennessee. Got some great stuff happening there. So there's a lot going on. Check it out. Keep your post. This is what it's about. Hit that subscribe button. Folks, I'm going to put this out there. We're at 496 subscribers. We need 4 more to get to that 500 mark. We got some good stuff coming up. We're going to do some contests coming up at the beginning of the year. Looking forward to it. Need subscribers. We need to hit that notification bell next to it because that's the dinger. We hit dingers.
We do. It doubles and dingers.
Doubles and dingers. I don't care. As long as it's a D, we're in good shape. As long as it's,
Cut.
I'll take a double.
I need a laugh right now. I'm such an immature person. And can we cut that out? Can we start over? Sorry, we're 4 minutes.
Hey,
into,
baby,
we're 4 minutes into the conversation.
We got to have some fun.
You're over there, super excited about almost hitting 500. I didn't know sure if you were choking or you had tears because of excitement. We're so close, and
it was both.
Okay.
It was both.
All right, and then here we are.
Actually, it was just I got too carried away and couldn't swallow right. It's so bad, man.
Doubles and dingers. It's all about, as long as it has a D in it, it's good.
We need 4 more. Come on, baby. Give me some subscribers. We love you. We got some great stuff coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're working into 2022.
We're 5 minutes in.
Hey, baby, it's all fun. It's baseball.
You have me crying right now inside.
Baseball.
baseball. Doubles and dingers, hit them where they're aimed.
It was probably the
throw
coffee.
Strikes. What's the other one for pitchers? Pitch it.
Keep throwing strikes,
Keep throwing
baby.
strikes. That's it. I should know that by now. It's like 30.
And it's, we say this, it's everybody's and you hear it. All the coaches sitting on the bucket over there. Oh, throw a strike. No, I didn't know that's what I was supposed to do.
We had a pitching. It's funny. So I got 14-year-olds now, so they're starting to get into their little own, swag and stuff like that. And last night I had a kid that couldn't hit the broadside of the barn for whatever reason. I was like, just throw a strike, man. Just throw it right down the middle of the plate. And he's like, I'm trying. I was like, I know, but I had to say it because it drives me crazy when coaches do that. That's the obvious.
We need to take and create a list of the top 5 things you don't say from the bucket.
Yeah, right. Hey, right? Swing it. Whatever. Just the obvious things.
We will. We're going to do that. That'd be fun, right?
That would be a fun episode.
Yeah. 5 things you don't say from the bucket. We could probably get to 10, I'd imagine. But
there's probably a few more. Yeah. I'm sure I've said a lot of those.
We'll do a top 10 of that. I think that'd be fun. Maybe we'll do that on our end-of-year extravaganza. That'd be cool.
That was exciting.
Oh, yeah. Anywho, let's get into our topic today, folks. We're going to talk some hitting. We recently had Mike Rogers on the show, and we were talking about hitting and the difference, in mechanics and how people approach and this and that. So we're gonna bring that up, and we've got some guys around the area that we're gonna bring on, instructors, and talk hitting, because I think it's so important. I mean, what comes to mind is Craig Counsell.
Okay. How
did Craig Counsell hit? I mean, the guy looked like a pretzel before he started his swing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
am I wrong?
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys. I mean, Gary Sheffield's of the world.
Right.
I mean, if you want to go to the top. I
mean,
of the
we're just looking at visible things.
Yeah, awkward stances. Go back to, for us older guys, Mickey Templeton Mickey. Yeah, right, from the Tigers. That held his bat flat.
Yep.
It's Templeton, I think. No,
that
might be Gary
right.
Templeton.
Gary
I'm thinking
Templeton.
Mickey starts with a T.
I'm not quite sure.
Wow, this is terrible. I'm usually really good with baseball IQ.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I do. It's fun. And the Jeff Bagwells, you remember how crouched over he was into his stances, and the guy straight up,
Right. Look at Cody Bellinger.
Yeah.
I mean, he stands like a stiff.
Not this year, Cody Bellinger. A couple years ago.
Well, he's still pretty straight up and down.
Yeah, he did not hit well this year.
No, well, he did in the playoffs. He started getting. I mean, he had to get healthy. I think his health was there, and so you've got all these different styles, and how does that when we talk about hitting, how does that work?
Yeah, I just think about even the simple things like the Mark McGuire's, the Barry Bonds, the little ticks that they did, Julio Franco. Mm-hmm. You had Juan Gonzalez, just all these little guys. Mark McGuire used to clap his elbows together to make sure his knuckles were lined up, and you had little Barry Bonds did his little barrel thing that he would do.
I'm watching the Dodgers and Chris Taylor.
Yep.
He always pops that bat back like that. I think it's just a reminder, keep your bat flat. He's probably trying to just his hands and how they come through. There's something there that triggers what you're doing.
Yeah.
And trying to keep yourself
routine
through the zone right. Correct?
Yeah, it's a routine, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what you're practicing and all of a sudden something works, you probably stick to it.
And I think that's so interesting. So as a hitting instructor, and I know you do hitting instructing, and we're gonna work. I'm hoping we've reached out to some guys, local guys, quality dudes that we were going to bring on the show and talk hitting instruction. We hope to get Shane Eames back on. We had him on once. I hope to get Ryan Howard in here. We've reached out to some of these guys and just talk about hitting at that level, because I think it's so interesting. And so mechanics to the brain to the physical. I mean,
I'm with you.
philosophy, right? Approach.
Well, we saw a lot with the Birds this year, the Cardinals. They talked
Right.
about philosophies and getting rid of our head, our manager because of philosophical differences, and so those things are happening and hitting all over. We have a bunch of gyms all over, a bunch of organizations, and we have our own instruction. What I like to see nowadays is you're seeing guys like Ryan Howard who had a cup of coffee a little bit, got to play minor league baseball, got paid, and you see some of those guys starting to come back and really staying in their lanes, not going to work for an insurance company or whatever. They're getting back into baseball, and those guys are, what were they taught?
Right.
And then they're trying to teach what's there to the next level of kids, and that's exciting to be a part of, because for me as a hitting coach, I get away from mechanics nowadays, and I am more geared towards the mental side of hitting, and realize that when a kid comes in for a lesson and they had a tough day at school, they probably have a tough day at hitting practice.
Right.
And those are the things that I'm trying to work through as a hitting coach.
Now, and I think this is something, and we're just talking about philosophy and things like this, because I think this is something I experienced, and it's not good or bad. It's just what it is, right? As a player, you start off a kid, maybe you get him, he's 9, 10, 11, whatever the case may be. He has his dad or his little league coach. Do they understand what you're talking about and whatnot? Do they understand the language, what's going on there? Is he trying to get him, is he saying things this way? Is he trying to get him to do something different that maybe he believes in, that he's heard from somebody else? They moved to high school. You got the high school coach. So you have all of these dynamics involved in this one player.
Yeah.
Moving through this process and working to hit 300.
Don't forget the egos involved there too. You got the parent, you got the hitting coach, you got the high school coach, you got all these different
You hope
egos
that isn't
too.
the case, but
They're still there,
right?
Regardless, it's
because it should be about the player, and you're right. And I wasn't going to get there yet, but that's okay.
sorry if that was for another or later time in the show, but you are correct, and because I do have that now. I have some high school kids. I got some guys that are coming back from college that are coming in to work with me. I got a couple of professional guys that are coming in to hit with me, and I have 9-year-olds. And I got a 9-year-old kid that when we get in there and swing it, I'm just having fun with him. It is not about mechanics, because if they're already an overthinker, at 9 years old, I'm like, I spend 30 minutes just trying to get him to understand to slow down and just like, nope, just do this, or whatever the case may be. This kid's all over like changing his hands. If I say get his hands up, he puts them way up here, because his hands are started down here, and it's the adjustments aren't made a little bit. So I have to go up there, put him in position,
right,
and so he can feel these things. When you get to the older kids, you can talk about feels, you can talk about the philosophy, you can talk about in-game adjustments and things like that. That's where I thrive, I think personally, because I love the tactical side of hitting and pitching, defense. I love that side of the game, and that's how I try to incorporate some of these higher level kids. That's why I have college kids come in, because they're pitching backwards now. They're not.
Right.
They're not. You're not getting fastballs on these certain counts. So. But yes, going back to it, you have a 9-year-old kid that for the next 5 years is literally having maybe 2 or 3 hitting coaches at the time, still have dad trying to interpret what you're being told in lessons. That's why dads kind of sit around and hover. At least what they're telling me is, I want to learn from what you're saying.
Right. And you should as a dad.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I'll go back and say, hey,
Right.
What did you guys work on? I don't ask the 9-year-old kid. I asked the dad, and the dad said something. It's like completely, he tried to do what I asked him to do, but his interpretation was completely separate from what I expressed. So it's an interesting thing. And the most success I've had, to be quite honest with you, is I've had parents come in, and I'm working with them twice a week. So instead of having them work with their parent or something like that, it is obviously more expensive. But at the end of the day, the kids are coming in twice a week. They're getting in 2 times the reps. I am seeing a lot more success in those kids coming in multiple times a week than I am
right
having them 8 weeks for 1 session, but I'm having them for 4 weeks with 2 sessions. Mm-hmm. It's the same number of sessions, it's just not dispersed out. And some of these parents are like, they're getting it much quicker. It's obviously it's because of the practice, right? They're continuing to practice, but it's the same voice that they're getting it from. And I've noticed that's what we have to do a good job of, even at the high school level. I obviously coach high school ball. I've coached college ball, and I literally can't tell myself, well, don't go listen to your high school coach. I can't do that. I'm a high school coach. Why would I do that? I mean, I get told that by parents and kids, that their hitting coaches tell them that. But why would I do that? If I do, that's something I do. And I will ask kids, what do you work on with your coach? What are some of the things that you struggle with? And then I'm going to give you my information.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you that your coach is wrong. I'm going to tell you that that coach sees you every day, that if that's a parent or, whatever, your high school coach sees you every day. What are you working on?
Right.
And you tell me what you're working on. That's how we go about our business.
And, I think that's, for lack of a better way to put it, professional courtesy. Right?
There's zero reason to throw each other under the bus.
Right. Because
we're all trying to hustle.
What does that do for but it should be for the player's benefit. And if you see something that you go, this is what I think. Hey, I'd love to maybe you drop by and talk to the hitting instructor. I saw this in his swing. I saw this, or an email, or can we communicate? And I think that's where, if we go back to the ego part of it, excuse me. And I think those things do come into play. And it's not even sometimes maybe in a bad way. It's just we believe we're working to do what's right and help the player. But sometimes an outside view, you see this, somebody sees something else that you maybe are not seeing. That helps an extra set of eyes, something that just a suggestion. Hey, I saw this in the player. I wanted to pass this along to you. I know you're working with him instruction-wise. Yeah,
I do believe that we're starting to kind of get to that route. Mm-hmm. I feel like just a few years ago, it was really, really competitive. And so this is like this in organizations too. I used to feel the same way. It's like all these organizations wanted to cherry pick kids and all of these things. And I realized it's kind of the middle tier that is really trying to pick apart the AA type teams and players. Coaches are trying to pick these AA kids off to make them a better AA team, but still AA.
Yeah,
I see that in hitting too. A few years ago, I don't see that as much anymore. I don't know if that's because there's a lot more kids playing or there's enough clientele out there that to support all of us hitting coaches and instruction, I guess. I'm not sure what it is, but you're starting to see that communication start to happen. Like, I'm not the end all be all
right.
in the answer to your success.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that if I hit with a kid for 8 to 12 weeks and I can't get that kid to grow anymore, mm-hmm. our time is over. My time is done. So let me get you a coach that you need to work with. And I'm intense, and so I push a lot, and I am on the mental side. So when a kid says I can't, that's a word I can't stand. I hate that word in our sport, right? And
so my grandfather always said never did do anything but want.
Yeah.
I want to do this, but I can't.
Yeah,
right? Wait a minute.
I tell mine that's you won't do something. It's not that you can't. It's you won't. It's change. Whatever the case may be, and just getting back to just being mentally tough. And so I push, and that's why people like to come to me, is because I push the mental side of the game. There is no I can't do something. I doubt. There's I don't knows are not an option. You did it. You chose to do it. There's a reason you did it. There's no wrong answer in our sport.
Right.
I don't believe there's a wrong answer.
It's a matter of communicating. If you don't know, you're guessing. And that is never a good situation.
Never.
Right? I mean, it's the knowledge that we have. The only way we use this a lot. This is something I grew up with from my own dad, just in life in general. Power plus attitude equals performance. Power, knowledge. We all understand, we equate that to those things, right? But it's not just knowledge, but how you use the knowledge given to you. If there's no application of the knowledge, if you don't know how to use what you've been given, it's of no value to you or anybody. And I think that just always goes to these things when you're talking. So how do you help the child? How do you help the player? How do you help those begin to learn how to apply the knowledge that you're passing along? And I think that is what separates, in my opinion, really good instructors from guys that just kind of instruct hitting or base. I don't mean to throw, I'm just talking in a general sense.
Everybody serves a purpose in what we're doing, no matter what it is. You have guys that come in. I've seen some very mechanical coaches, and I tell you, some of these kids need it, and they do a phenomenal job of being mechanical. But again, how do we work outside of that? That's why I believe once you get to a certain stage with an athlete, you have to make a change. If you're not growing in the in-game, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? Going out to the game and producing, like you talked about, the knowledge, using what you're getting inside of the cages, taking that and development to the field and executing. That's why I'm big on approach. That's why I'm big on mental side, because the game is where it's hard. The game is where it's hard to be consistent. It's easy to be focused in a cage for 20 minutes and you're locked in and whatever. You go out to a game and you have one bad call from an umpire and you think your entire bat's over. Well, your entire weekend's over because you start doubting yourself.
And this is a great place for everybody out there watching to comment. Comment below. Let us know what you think about this subject. We want to know. I mean, this is the time where the conversation becomes very real, in my opinion, because people do have thoughts. It's not just having an opinion about something, but I know people think about this subject, especially in baseball circles, right?
In youth sports in general, baseball, softball, it is such a competitive atmosphere right now, just in all of it. And so we want our kids to be the best that they can. Mm-hmm. And you're realizing that I think parents are starting to do a good job of realizing the talent of their athletes. Right. I could be wrong, but for the most part in my organization, that's all I'm kind of speaking on. They're doing a really good job of identifying who their athlete is. Right. That's what we're attacking. We're attacking them and saying, hey, this is what you need to work on. This is what we're doing. I love that piece, and they're allowing me to work, and it's just different in general. I'm happy where we're moving to,
right?
But the conversations have to happen.
I agree, and that's the thought process. But and are people willing to share and to work with and do? And I think that's where like we said again, if you like this conversation, we wanted the comments, but subscribe, hit that ding. Remember, we're 4 away from 500. Just a reminder.
You held it together this time.
I did.
You did not choke.
But from the high school coaches to, and I think this is where really good high school coaches understand what their kids are doing in the summer, who their instructors are, knowing the community, understanding where their kids are playing and who they're working with, and having do you have to know everybody? No. And you're not, right?
Yeah, no, you're not. There's so many coaches around here.
Right?
You said some names. I'm like, I'm not sure I know who that is, but they're in organizations. I'm like, those kids hit, so that obviously has to,
correlate,
work together, right?
So it's good to, and that's where the communication opening up with the player as a high school coach or as a youth coach. Who are you working with? How are you guys doing this? What's the language he's using? And maybe you like I said, you get an email, say, hey, this young man, he works with you. Love to know what, just kind of the thought processes behind it. And as an instructor, we ought to be able, I know that sounds strange and whatnot, but for the kids' sake, for the players' sake, we ought to have a basic outline. Here's some information. This will help you. Language that we use, talking about, because it keeps the player engaged with what the thought process is behind what's being taught them. I think language is a very important thing. If I've got a player who's being told, throw your hands at the ball, right? Well, the coach is saying the same thing, but in a different way. It's still kind of confusing because what does he mean by that? I'm used to hearing throw your hands at the ball.
Yeah, it could be completely different. In a hitting instructing environment, it could be 100% different because we're talking about what is the mechanic of getting the hands on playing or something like that. And so I could see that big time. I think hopefully we have time for this, but going back to just going to high school and having these egos, again, in the GACs, it's such a tough conference. You have good coaches, you have good athletes. I don't remember going into a single hitting practice and talking about hitting mechanics and certain things there because of so many kids have different voices. And again, your voice is this. Coach Zare wants me there to talk about the mental side of hitting. That's it. That's all I talk about. When you get done with an at-bat, what were you thinking in this situation with this runner on here and da-da-da-da-da? And we start to build that culture like that. We don't go in there and say, well, you should have done this with your hands to hit this pitch or, whatever. We talk about how to pitch recognize, the importance of pitch recognition. Again, if we don't have those little bitty things, we don't take care of the small stuff, which is obviously you got to see the ball first. If you don't take care of that, none of the other stuff matters. I've seen kids with terrible looking swings.
The basic see the ball, hit the ball.
Yeah. Well, just go look and you'll see kids with ugly swings get it done. And all they are is on time. So at the end of the day is seeing the ball, recognizing, adjusting, and being on time. If those are the three most important things, or 4 or 5, whatever it is, in ball release. Is that more important than how my body functions? And if I'm downward or if I'm upward or, are those things important? Let the kid hit. At the end of the day, let the kid hit. And, if a kid rolls over and hits a bunch of ground balls but it's fast, should we be telling the kid to lift the baseball so he can fly out? And because he's not strong enough? Just let the kid do his thing and just
teach him how to bunt more.
Well, something, or whatever. And I'm not saying that that's
I know
my own opinion.
It's conversation. Comment below.
I just love at Timberland. We don't go out there and we're not trying to step on people's toes. And we have a lot of good coaching staffs. We have a kid that played at Howell, played at Truman. That's our first base coach. We have a coach that's from North County that coached 20-something years over there, and he's been great in pitching. Yeah. And, instead of going and saying to a pitcher, like an Adam Hatchman, you don't go in there and tell him what to do. What do you do with your pitching coach? What is your focus? What is your, whatever?
And I think it's interesting to bring that up because as a high school coach, that's a different thought process. And I'm looking at it because you're probably, it's not an assumption, but you're probably very aware of where that kid is getting his instruction from. He's in the clinic. He's in the instructional process, and he's working on the mechanics outside of that. So what am I doing on this side of it to help him in other ways to succeed, correct?
Yeah, that's it. That's what we do there. And it's been a work in progress, but it's working. The culture takes time to build. And that's, again, I love working with Coach Zare and his coaching staff, and that's what he's preaching is let's teach the kid for what that kid is worth. And his mental side, the physical stuff, to all those tools, that's what we're coaching. Let's coach the kid, not the robotic, let's have a bunch of one-arm drills and, stuff at hitting practice. Sure, we do those things, but we're not sitting there. You got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this. This is how you're efficient. This is how you maximize your body. Because what if a kid is growing? He has growing pains. He doesn't understand how to use his muscles. We're talking about 15 to 18-year-old kids. And what's the difference between 17 and 19? Justin will tell you his growth from being a high school kid to a second year in college. It's totally different, I love the GA. I love talking to Perkins. I love talking to Coach Goff over there at West. And all of these people are not sitting there spending time teaching goofy mechanics in our hitting drills. And I just love that they pay attention to what's going on in instruction. Yeah. They're in for the long haul, and I think they're doing a really good job. And that's maybe why I have a bias on the GAC.
Well, the GAC is a great conference. It is. It's tough and top to bottom. And in the lower grades, we got some great coaches that are happening around here, and we're going to be doing our GAC we got a lot coming up.
As I say, you already had Rue on, and he's done a really good job over at West.
And he's going to come back on for our previews and stuff for the GAC. We got Coach Allen, we got Coach Hill, Perkins, Goff.
I'll get you with Coach Zare if you want Coach Zare on here.
Absolutely. What's the gentleman over at Francis Howe? I'm still
Francis Howe North,
Central. Beckman, I think it is.
I have not met him.
I'm not sure. He's coming on. So we're going to have some good stuff for the GAC. We're hoping to get a couple coaches maybe from the outside the GAC come on, talk about 2022. So cool stuff. Great conversation, dude. Hit it out of the park. This is what we want to do here with Youth Baseball Midwest. And we're going to get some of these other guys on, talk hitting, talk some more, and get some other perspectives, because it's imperative that we understand these things. And as a parent and as a player, a young player, we want to bring information.
I want to learn.
Yeah.
I deal with like 85 or so athletes in my organization, and I know that some of these coaches coming on are having 200 plus kids, and I know that they're developing their hitting programs. I really want to know, how they're getting them all to succeed, and I'm wanting to learn just as much as the next. I'm 41, so maybe that's the difference. I'm not that young,
right?
Ego.
And I think that's a great point, because I hear that from Coach Perkins all the time. He says it. He goes, I love talking baseball and talking to these other coaches and getting out and learning, and I'll see something I like from them, and hey, how'd you do? He goes, I bring it and I put it in. Success.
I think all we're doing is just regurgitating what everybody's already done in front of us. This is such I love the game of baseball, but it's always evolving and changing, right? But it's still the same drills. It's the same.
Still got to hit the ball, throw the ball.
Yeah, it's fun to watch some of these really awesome, fielders out there doing these really cool, fielding camps and things like that. Like Trotsky's baseball group. He's a great defender. He's teaching elite level athletes. So when you watch his Instagram and stuff like that, you just love it. And you're like, oh, I got to do that for everybody. But I'm realizing even there, like, you cannot take a single A kid and do what they're doing. They don't understand those movements. And I just love that there's a process. And if you have the process in place, you can see that growth. Yeah. And that's what I want to learn. Because, again, being in a Gators organization, they have a ton of teams at the youth levels. How are you getting one team to, move up, or, getting a kid to move up to the next level so that you can get to your academies and things like that. I want to know those things, not for my business purposes, but how to be a better coach. And at the end of the day, that's what I got into this business for. That's why I coach college, is because I wanted to be the best for my athletes.
Absolutely.
Period.
There's a lot of kids out there.
A ton of kids.
There you go.
Yeah, just in O'Fallon, there's like 15,000 that's in OCAC that play in the recreational leagues.
Right.
And those kids want to get better too.
Absolutely. Hey guys, thanks for joining us again today. Remember, hit that subscribe button. We need 4. Just 4?
Just 4.
Just 4. We got to get there. 500 by the end of the year. That's what we're working towards. We appreciate that. Hit that dinger, because that's what we do around here.
Doubles and dingers.
There you go. And we're going to be back after the first year with Mitch. He'll be back for our extravaganza, end of year extravaganza. But we're going to come back at the beginning of the year in 2022, talking more hitting, bringing in some of these guys, get some more conversation going. It'll be a lot of fun. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
Get them where they ain't.
it's good advice. We'll see you next time.